All right, guys, we just finished talking about Gears of War 2. D-Mac joining us once again. It's time to talk about Halo 3. But before we can get started with anything Halo 3, the audience out here, we need to update them with who is playing with who in the Meadowlands. 7 of the 8 top teams have made changes. In fact, 15 of the top 16 teams are coming in with new rosters to the Meadowlands. So I took some time back in the MLG office to build this little video. It might help you out. Let's check it out. What's up, guys? Chris Puckett coming at you from the MLG studios in New York City, and it's time to talk rosters. Since our 2008 National Championship, 7 of our top 8 teams have made changes. So here to help you out, I built some pretty little boards for you, and let's get started. We got Straight Rippin. They are the exception. They are the only team returning with this same lineup they had back in Vegas. Meanwhile, Final Boss, well, they're going to be the troublemakers here. We have Neighbor. He failed to win with Final Boss 3 events in a row, so instead this season he's going to join up with Walshy on Instinct, replacing Soviet. Strong side, he decides, I don't want to play with any big names this season. I'm going to go look for 3 new young guns and form my own team in status quo. Ogre 1, he went to Australia. Now he's playing with the Incredibles, and that means that Ogre 2 is the only remaining member of Final Boss left. Moving down here, though, we have Triggers down. That's SK and Hysteria. They decide this season we're not going to play with Fear and Karma anymore. So Fear goes up. He joins Ogre 2. Karma, he takes a seat for the moment. And Victor X and Macchio, they say, you know what? We want that 3rd seed. We're going to join Final Boss. So you have Triggers down. They have 2 empty spots. Who do they pick up? 2 of the most impressive rising stars in the league in Pistola and Hines. So Triggers down is now SK, Hysteria, Pistola, and Hines. And Team Classic, they have 2 spots to fill as well. They said last season, we saw a lot of success. They finished in 2nd, and they did it with this lineup. They pick up Fear once again as he makes his return to Halo 3. And Legend, he's going to leave Legends to finish off the roster. Team Carbon, as soon as they heard that Soviet was available, they dropped Naded. And, of course, they went after Dimitri, the big Soviet. So Carbon now features Soviet. Ambush, that's Nexus and Cloud. Cloud, he's going to pull a strong side. He's now on Believe the Hype. He's going to be the captain for them. Look for them to pull some upsets this weekend. Meanwhile, that leaves Nexus all alone, and he goes after 2 guys from Anti-Gravity with Tsquared and Gunshot, and then goes after the sniper from Breaking Point in Chig. That leaves us with the last team, Legends. And Gandhi, well, he's not playing anymore. He's going to be joining me in the commentary booth as I pick him up. And that leaves Best Man in Defy. They're no longer Legends. Instead, they're the New Order as they pick up Naded and Karma. So there you have it. Here are your top 8 teams for Meadowlands. Let me go over it one more time for you. We got Straight Rippin, Instinct featuring Neighbor. Final Boss is Ogre 2, Fear Itself, Macchio, and Victory. Triggers Down is featuring Pistola and Hines this season. Classic is back with their old 08 roster. Carbon now has Soviet. Ambush is Nexus, Tsquared, Gunshot, and Chig. And New Order is Defy, Best Man, Karma, and Naded. Guys, I hope this all helped you out. And let's get right back into the pregame show. All right, so now you guys know who's competing this weekend. And D-Mac Nexy, I got to ask you, who made the best move on that team changes board?
If I had to pick a team, I got to go with my boys, Triggers Down. Even though they had a good placings last year, they were inconsistent. They picked up the 2 young guns. It's the perfect combination. You got experience and potential. I really like the pickup in Triggers Down.
And although I like Neighbor, you know how much I like Neighbor. You know how much I like Neighbor. I think the pickup of Soviet by Carbon was the best pickup in the offseason. And the reason why is I think that Soviet complements that team so well in his playing style. He is such an aggressive player. Like the rest of Team Carbon, it's going to be a perfect match.
Okay. Right, we'll have to see how that plays out. But, guys, now it's time to talk about the brackets. Let's break it down for the audience out there. We're going to take a look here at the top half of the bracket now. Here you'll see Straight Rippin is taking on Exit Wounds in Winners Bracket Round 1, while Anti-Gravity, they play Carbon. Classic plays Believe the Hype, and Heaven and Earth faces off against Triggers Down. Now taking a look at the bottom half of the bracket. Here you see the match I cannot wait for. It is Ogre 2's Final Boss facing off against his twin brother Dan on the Incredibles. Status Quo versus New Order. That is going to be the second match featured tonight on the Friday night kickoff. Meanwhile, Ambush faces off against Darkest Hour, and Instinct plays the Riot. Guys, got to ask, which bracket is harder?
And I think that question is pretty easy. If you look at the top half of the bracket, you arguably have the three best teams in the game. You have Straight Rippin', Triggers Down, and Carbon. And then you look at
Wait, did you just say Carbon was one of the top three?
And they're going to surprise a lot of teams. I know you have them up there in your predictions. We'll talk about those later. How do you feel about the top half?
I take a step back. I look at it a whole, and obviously it's lopsided. And I want to say about Carbon, they're kind of like so unpredictable that they are a threat, that they are a major threat in this tournament and in their bracket. But that bottom bracket isn't to sleep on either, because there are sleeper teams in that bracket. You've got, everyone in there. Even Instinct I'd call a sleeper team coming into this tournament.
Wait, you're going to call the team that finished second place in Vegas the runners-up after adding the pro player choice, best overall player in Neighbor to the squad? How is that a sleeper team?
Because I follow the offseason. What have they done in the offseason?
They're the number 2 seed.
I see where he's going. And the reason I see that is because you see a team that picks up Neighbor, but they didn't mesh right away. You saw problems in the offseason.
And that's what I'm talking about.
They didn't get it all together. They didn't play well at Lands, and they haven't performed at all. And then you look at other teams. You look at Status Quo.
Yep.
They have Tots and Flamesword, two players that you haven't heard of last season.
Right.
You hear a lot about them now, but last season, no. VG, the New Order, they're brand new.
So unpredictable.
Karma, Naded, Defy, Best Man, these teams haven't played together. You look at Ambush, the whole bottom half of the bracket, you don't know what's going to happen because you don't know how these teams are going to perform on land against each other.
That's right, but the bottom line is the two teams that won events last year in the top bracket. I just want to leave it at that.
All right, well, that's the brackets. Now it's time to ask you the predictions. D-Mac, you already said Carbon might have a top 3 here. I actually want to hear your top 4 first.
Well, I'm going to say Straight Rippin' is going to take 1.
Straight Rippin' wins the event.
Triggers Down is getting 2nd. Then we're going to see Instinct get 3rd, and Carbon, I have him at the 4th spot. Okay.
So Instinct isn't so much of a sleeper. You have him at your number 3 spot. They win their bracket.
I still say, hey, Instinct did pick up one of the best players in the game. There's no denying that. Come tournament time, I don't want to bet against Walshy, and I don't want to bet against Neighbor. Those are two players that have been in these situations. They know what it's like to play on Sunday, all right? And then you look at Straight Rippin'. I could have cared less if Straight Rippin' didn't pick up a controller since Vegas. They are still the 2008 national champions.
Do you guys hear
this?
There
is not a player. They are not 4 players that are more dominant on a roster together. Straight Rippin' is definitely winning this tournament.
Go ahead.
I just want to point out that the top 2 teams in your bracket that you're predicting haven't done anything in the offseason. Straight Rippin' hasn't played. They don't have internet. And Instinct is losing lands to teams in the bottom 8. Give me a break, man. But can I talk about my bracket?
Yeah,
my bracket's
your top
the winning
4.
bracket.
So much better, right?
Give me your
Let's
top
hear
4.
This.
You ready? Triggers Down first.
Triggers Down.
That's right.
Wait, not Straight Rippin'.
Triggers Down first. They're taking first this event.
All right.
Okay. Followed up by Final Boss. I see them winning their bracket. Carbon 3rd. I see them beating Straight Rippin' round 2.
Whoa.
And
so
Straight Rippin' 4th.
Not only is Straight not in your top 3, they're getting beat in winners bracket round 2 by Carbon.
Like I said, Carbon's a sleeper team. They're so unpredictable. Have you seen what Ghostayame's been doing recently? Have you seen what Los? There's a new Los on the circuit, guys. They're coming into this event with Soviet. If Ghostayame molded Soviet just a little bit, they're a team to watch out for.
I agree with that. I agree with that statement. But putting Straight Rippin' at the 4th spot, that's ridiculous. Come on.
When you don't
they
play
won last season.
I agree with D-Mac.
When you don't play, I'm not going to predict you in my top 4. Play.
All right. Well, next hating on Straight Rippin', saying they haven't put in any practice, but we did see Straight Rippin' went to a LAN. That's more than some of the other teams in the top 8. Plus, they're the reigning champs. They have legit on the squad. I'm expecting big things out of them. But guys, I got to ask you, who here is really going to cause an upset in the bottom bracket? That's what I want to know. You say Final Boss in Nexi's bracket. You say Instinct. Is there going to be any upsets there?
Well, I would say Status Quo on the bottom bracket. And the reason I say this is we haven't given them much love throughout the show, but Status Quo is a team that has dominated every other team at Lands thus far. And they've been very, very good. And they've done it with Tots, Flamesword, and Ace behind the leadership of Strong Style. I think that team is very exciting to watch. we'll see how they transition to tournament play, but I think they'll do pretty well.
Next, you got a sleeper team to watch this weekend?
You know, like I said, Carbon's my sleeper team. In the bottom bracket, I have to agree that Status Quo, undeniably, they're the sleeper team in the bottom bracket. So I got to go with Carbon for the top, Status Quo at the bottom.
All right, well, there you have it. That's the teams that we're going to be looking out for. When we come back, we're going to break it down a little farther. We're going to be talking about some of the players we're looking out for this weekend.
Undeniably,